Hello boys and girls, this is Miss Jones here, and today I'm going to bring you through an art lesson. Now, this art lesson is based on two famous artists. They were French artists. That means they were born in France a very, very long time ago, in fact over 1,000 years ago, and their names are Robert and Sonia Delaunay. They were both married and they both were painters. So they used acrylic paints in their artworks, but today we're going to use whatever you have at home. If you just have a pencil and some paper, that will do. If you have paints or crayons, like my little boy's ones here, that will be even better. But once you have a pencil and some paper, that's really all you need. Now we're not going to do the art till the end of this lesson and the end of this video. First, we're going to have a little look at their artwork. So again, remember their names are Robert and Sonia Delaunay. They were French artists born over 1,000 years ago. So let's have a little look at some of their pictures. That's where we're going to get our ideas for our art today. And we're just going to stop, take a few minutes to look at their artwork, see what we think of it, talk about the shapes, the colours, the patterns we might see, and take it all in before we take our ideas from their artwork and do some of our own. Now the first one we're going to do is by Robert Delaunay. This artwork, you can see lots of shapes in it. And Robert and Sonia Delaunay, they were both famous for doing artwork with lots of geometric patterns. That means lots of shapes and designs. Their work was mainly abstract, so it wasn't realistic. It didn't seem like a real person, a real mountain, a real picture of a park or anything like that. It wasn't a real representation of anything. It was mainly geometric and abstract, so patterns, designs. And you know what? As the spectator of the art, as the onlooker, you can decide what it means to you. So if we take a look at this first picture, I'm not going to tell you what the title is. I want you just to look. I want you to think about, well, first of all, what do you see? Do you see shapes? What shapes do you see? Do you see colours? What colours do you see? Do you see patterns? Do you see something that reminds you of anything else? Something that jogs something in your memory? How do you think it's put together? Now, I already gave you a clue when I was talking about the artists at the start of this video. I said they were painters. What kinds of paint do you think they used? Do you like it? I never mind if you do or you don't like a picture, but you should be able to say why you like it or why you don't like it. Maybe you like the colours, maybe you like the design. Maybe it reminds you of something. Do you like it? If you want to pause the video now, just for a minute, you can take a good few minutes to take all the shapes, the patterns, the design, and everything about this picture in for a few minutes. I wonder what's outside the frame. This one is called Endless Rhythm. It was painted over 1,000 years ago by Robert Delaunay. Let's take a look at one of his wife's pictures. What do you think of this? First of all, what do you see? How is it put together? What was used? What medium? What media was used? What kind of paint? Before painting, do you think the artist had to do anything to map out this picture? Do you like it? Remember, I never mind if you want to say, no, I don't like it, but you should be able to say why you don't like it. Does it remind you of anything? Something different to the first one? This painting is by Sonia Delaunay and it's called Petite Autumn. Do you think the colours are autumnal? Does it remind you of nature in autumn. I can see some lovely oranges, browns, but I can also see pops of other colours that I don't see in autumn. Again, you can pause the video here and take a longer look at this artwork. Do you think there is much of a similarity between the first and the second picture, Robert and Sonia's pictures? Do you think they're alike? What about them is alike? What about them is different? Which one do you prefer? If you take a look at some of these pictures now, and you can go back and forth between the two, notice that a lot of the shapes are circles. We call them concentric circles. That means there are circles within circles within circles, or circles around each other. Concentric circles. There are some straight lines in the picture too. Sometimes they drew lines to segment or fragment or break up their circles. So you can see semicircles and parts of circles with a straight line going through them. That's all a picture is. Lines and a series of lines put together. Some are curved lines, some are straight. If you notice in these pictures, all the lines and all the circles don't match up. I quite like that about them. They're not perfect. Look at the colours. Look at the patterns that you see. If you look up more of the Delaunay's work, you can see circles that are black, white, black, white, black, white, in patterns like that. Now, what we're going to do is gather a few items to do a little bit of our own work. As I said, the first thing that you need is a pencil, the second is paper, and we'll take it from there. We're going to try and remember some of the things that we've seen in the pictures. First of all, they were abstract. They weren't realistic pictures. So remember, we're going to be doing a series of geometrical patterns. That means just lots of shapes. We're going to use bright colours, but not till the end. He used paint, but we can use anything that we like and we have at home. So circles, that's what we have to keep in our head. Lines that divide or fragment the circles. And notice also there are no real strong outlines in their pictures. They didn't draw over in black lines around the circles at the end. Okay, so let's have a go. I'm going to use another piece of paper here. You can put it in the portrait position. You can put it in the, do you know what that's called? Landscape position. So portrait and landscape. It's up to you what way you position your page. Now, I'm going to use some things from around my house. Again, this is where you might have to pause the video. I'm going to use things that have circles to help me draw. That's a cup, an old yogurt pot, a plastic bowl, a plate, that's the lid of a container. You can use anything that you find that has a circle in it. You might need something straight as well. A ruler will do, or if you don't have a ruler, something else that's straight. I meant to get this out earlier. It's a chopping board. It has a straight line and that's going to do just fine. So, we're going to start with some of the circles. We're going to do big ones, small ones, and remember they're concentric circles, so circles within circles. If my circles go off the page, that's okay too. I'm just going to experiment, trying to keep my pencil close to my object and drawing around it. So here I have one, and see that it went off the page. That's okay. I'm going to draw another one of those, and it's going to overlap. Do you see the way it's overlapped to create a new shape? Now, we talked about circles within circles within circles. Okay, so I'm going to do another circle inside of this. Again, I'm keeping my pencil close to my object and I'm just drawing around the bowl. That's all I'm doing. I'm going to do another one over here. This time it's not overlapping with anything else. Now, I'm going to do another one, getting smaller and smaller each time. If it's not perfect, that's okay. I'm not going to rub out. I'm going to do another one maybe over here. And maybe one or two more here. Now notice, all my container lids and bowls, plates, everything that I'm using that's shaped like a circle, they're all different sizes. So look, there's a wider gap between these two circles, a much thinner gap between these. You could use freehand and just draw. I find it easier to use a stencil or to use something to help me. I'm going to draw another one here. Do you know what? Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do a line. Because remember, the artist fragmented or divided his circles often. And so did his wife Sonia. So do you see the way I'm after dividing that circle into a semicircle? I'm going to divide some of these too. Let's fix it here so my board is flat. If you have a ruler, it would be better. I don't have a ruler at home with me at the moment. So I'm after dividing these into semicircles. You can divide them into whatever shapes you want. You can do more than one line, remember. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. I'm happy enough with that now, so I think I'm going to leave that there. Now I have paints, but as I said, you can use crayons, you can use pastels, you can just shade if you want. And you've drawn some circles and you don't have anything to colour in it at all. Remember, you can shade. You could lean quite lightly, lean quite heavily to create different colours just with your pencil alone. Different tones and different shades. Okay? I've got a couple of paints here, so I'm going to start by using them. I'm going to use my plate. I'm not going to do all of the picture today. I'm just going to give you an idea. I'd love to see some of your work on Seesaw, and so would your teachers too. This one was a bit tricky to get out. I only need a little bit for the start. Now, I'm going to start with my paints, and if you remember, back to the pictures that we looked at, they use bright and bold, strong colours. Each shape and each part of each shape was a different colour. I'm going to start with one of the lightest colours I've got on my palette. I'm going to start with yellow. And I'm going to take my time and be very careful in colouring and painting my first shape in. Remember, you can use crayons, you can even use your pencil, whatever you've got at home. I'm going to do one part of the picture at a time before I move on. You can even mix colours. See how carefully I'm going along the lines? I want it to be as exact as I can. Now don't worry if you go outside the lines. I'm just trying to be as careful as I can. I'm going to wash my brush, dry it off. I think I need a little bit more water, and use another colour. You could do this part in different steps. You could do a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow. I'm going to do this shape next. I'm taking my time and trying to make the outline of each shape exact. I find it easier to work this way. So I'm moving my page. Now, take your time and do each shape as carefully as you can. I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to do a final shape before I let you get cracking. You could leave some shapes white You could do a pattern if you haven't got too many paints or too many colours. I'm just going to water down this page. Paint. If you haven't got too many colours, you could do a pattern. Green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow. Or one that's a bit more complicated than that. Be as careful as you can. If you're using crayon or twistables, that's okay too. Markers, pastels, whatever you've got at home. And even if all you have is a pencil, you could do a lovely picture in all the different shades of grey. Now we're going to finish up here, but I'm really looking forward to talking to your teachers and seeing how you got on with this lesson and seeing some of your work on Seesaw too. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you didn't hear of Robert and Sonia Delaunay before, go have a little look and look up some of their artwork. Well done, boys and girls. Thanks for listening, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how you've gotten on.